is a muscle hiding inside your lower leg right now. Most people have never heard its name. Your doctor has probably never mentioned it. And yet, researchers at the University of Houston discovered that this one forgotten muscle, when activated in a very specific way, can pull sugar out of your bloodstream so efficiently it does the job of most diabetes medications, without a single step at the gym. A peer-reviewed study published in Science in 2022 found that activating this muscle after meals reduced blood glucose by up to 52% and kept it lower for 90 minutes straight. 52%. Not from a pill, not from a diet overhaul, from a movement so small, so quiet, you can do it right now in your chair without anyone noticing. By the end of this video, you will know exactly what this muscle is, why it works, and how to use it starting today, even if you have never exercised a day in your life. Stay with me. Before we get into it, if this kind of information is useful to you, please hit the like button and subscribe. We are trying to reach 500,000 people with evidence-based health content that your doctor doesn't always have time to explain. The subscribe button helps this reach someone who needs it. To understand why this hidden muscle matters so much, you first have to understand what happens inside your body every single time you eat. Think of glucose, blood sugar, as water flowing through a garden hose. After a meal, the tap gets cranked wide open. Sugar pours in. Your bloodstream fills up fast. Your body's answer to this is insulin. Insulin is like a delivery worker. Its job is to knock on the door of your cells, hand over the sugar, and your cells use it for energy. This system is elegant. When it works, you feel sharp, calm, and steady after meals. But here is what most people don't realize. The single largest destination for that glucose delivery is not your liver, not your organs. It is your muscles. Skeletal muscle, the tissue that covers your entire frame, is the body's primary glucose disposal site. When muscles are active, they pull sugar out of your blood directly. They do not even need insulin to do it. They have their own door, their own entrance. This is not a small detail. This changes everything. Here is where things go wrong for most people. After a meal, you sit. You go back to your desk. You get back on the couch. You are in a meeting or watching something or answering messages, and your muscles, the most powerful glucose clearing system your body has, go completely silent. So all that sugar the delivery worker was carrying, it has nowhere to go. Blood glucose climbs, insulin floods out to manage it, then it crashes, and 90 minutes after lunch, you feel it. The fog, the heaviness, the craving for something sweet or a strong coffee just to get through the afternoon. This is not weakness. This has nothing to do with your discipline or your willpower or what kind of person you are. It is pure chemistry. Your muscles were never asked to work, so your blood sugar stayed elevated longer than it needed to, and your body paid the price in energy, in mood, in clarity. And over time, this pattern costs more than just an afternoon crash. Take Marcus, 44 years old, high school history teacher. Every day around 3 in the afternoon, Marcus would feel a wall hit him. Not tired exactly, more like someone had poured sand into his skull. He kept a drawer full of granola bars for these moments. He told himself it was because teaching was mentally exhausting. For years, he genuinely believed that. But what was actually happening inside his body had nothing to do with his workload. Marcus spent his lunch break sitting in the staff room, then sat through 2 more classes. His muscles never activated. His blood glucose, which had risen sharply after his meal, had no efficient way to clear. By 3 o'clock, his insulin response had overshot. His glucose had swung low, and his brain, which runs entirely on glucose, was running on fumes. It wasn't the job, it was the chemistry, and Marcus had no idea. When this pattern plays out day after day, the consequences move slowly, but they move in one direction. First, the cells that receive insulin start ignoring it. They have seen so much of it, so often, they stop responding efficiently. Doctors call this insulin resistance. When that happens, your body needs to produce more and more insulin just to manage normal meals. The pancreas works harder. Glucose stays elevated longer after each meal. Energy becomes unpredictable. Weight becomes harder to manage, especially around the abdomen, because chronically elevated insulin tells your body to store fat rather than burn it. Then, if nothing changes, the window closes. The pancreas begins to fatigue. Blood sugar regulation breaks down further. What started as afternoon tiredness has quietly become something a doctor now needs to treat. And ironically, this exact moment, when nothing is officially wrong yet, when you are still in the a little high but not diabetic zone, is the easiest possible time to turn things around. If any of this sounds like your day, hit the like button right now. Diane is 51, works in logistics. She came to her doctor not because of energy. She felt fine, mostly. She came in because she kept waking up at 4 in the morning and could not get back to sleep. Her fasting glucose was flagged on a routine panel. Elevated. Not by much. Her doctor connected the dots. The disrupted sleep, the elevated fasting blood sugar, the weight that had crept on over 3 years. They were all the same story. Diane had no idea her blood sugar was involved. She thought she just needed melatonin. But here is the good news. Inside your muscle cells are tiny structures called mitochondria. Think of them as furnaces. Their job is to burn fuel, including glucose, and produce energy. Here's the part that matters. These furnaces can be switched on without insulin. When a muscle contracts, it opens a completely separate channel, a back door, that pulls glucose directly from the bloodstream, completely bypassing the insulin pathway that may already be struggling. This means that even if your insulin sensitivity has declined, even if your cells have started ignoring insulin's knock on the front door, muscle contraction can still clear glucose through the back door. And the window when this matters most is the 90 minutes immediately after a meal. That is when blood sugar peaks. That is when pulling it down is easiest and most effective. The question is, which muscles can you realistically activate during this window? If you were at your desk, in a meeting, on a couch? This is where that hidden muscle comes in. Remember the muscle I mentioned at the very start? It is called the soleus. It sits deep inside your calf, underneath the gastrocnemius, the muscle you can see. The soleus is unusual. It is one of the only muscles in your body that is specifically designed for long, low-intensity activity rather than brief, explosive effort. It does not fatigue easily, and it has an extraordinarily high density of mitochondria, more furnaces per square inch than almost any other skeletal muscle. A study published in Science in 2022 by researchers at the University of Houston found that a specific movement targeting the soleus, while seated, reduced post-meal blood glucose by 52% and improved metabolic rate locally by up to 60% compared to sitting still. The researchers' own words, the results stunned even them. One seated movement, no shoes required, no gym, no standing up. Try this right now while you watch. Sit with your feet flat on the floor. Now raise the front of your foot, your toes, and the ball of your foot while keeping your heel pressed into the ground. Let your heel come back down. Then raise it again, slow and steady. That is it. That is the Soleus push-up. Nobody around you will even notice. You can do this in a meeting, on a plane, at dinner, watching this video. The researchers had participants do this for about 20 minutes after meals. Even 10 to 15 minutes produced measurable results. The Soleus push-up is the star, but there are 3 other tools that compound its effect, and none of them require a single piece of equipment. The first is the 10 squat reset. Before you sit down after any meal, just 10 slow squats. Not a workout, a signal. A 10 squat set activates the largest muscle groups in your lower body, the quads, hamstrings, and glutes, and triggers an immediate glucose uptake window. The habit anchor. Do it before you sit at your desk after lunch. Link it to sitting down, every time. The second is the 2-minute walk. A peer-reviewed study in sports medicine found that a 2-minute walk taken every 30 minutes reduced blood glucose more effectively than a single longer walk taken hours later. Not a power walk, a stroll to refill your water, walk to a colleague's desk, check the mail. The anchor. Set a soft timer for every 30 minutes in the afternoon. 2 minutes. That is the entire commitment. The third is what I call the morning mineral window. Magnesium plays a direct role in insulin receptor function, the key fitting into the lock. Research published in Diabetes Care found that people with higher magnesium intake had significantly better insulin sensitivity. A handful of pumpkin seeds in the morning, a tablespoon of almond butter, or a dark leafy green at breakfast covers much of your daily need with food alone. The anchor. Put it in your first meal of the day before you have decisions to make. You do not need to rearrange your life around them. You need 10 squats, a 2-minute walk, and a handful of pumpkin seeds. I want to ask you something. Drop your age in the comments below, just the number, and tell me what time of day you typically feel that energy dip or craving kick in. This helps me understand what's actually happening in this audience so I can create content that is genuinely useful for where you are. I read every comment. Here is what changes when you put this into practice. Within the first few days, the afternoon energy crash softens. Not dramatically, quietly. You notice you are reaching for the granola bar less. The 3 o'clock fog starts to thin. Your mood after meals becomes more even, less reactive. Over weeks and months, something more significant happens. Your cells begin to respond to insulin more readily again. The key starts fitting back into the lock. Blood sugar that was creeping in the wrong direction begins trending the other way. Weight that was stubborn around the middle becomes more responsive to everything else you are already doing. And none of it required a single change to what you eat. It required only that your muscles were asked to do the job they were built to do, clearing glucose, in the window when it matters most. The body quietly does the rest. Here is what to do starting today. 1. Begin Soleus push-ups after your next meal. Aim for 10 to 15 minutes. Do them at your desk, on the couch, wherever you land after eating. 2. Add 10 slow squats before you sit back down after lunch. Attach it to the act of sitting every time. 3. Ask your doctor to run a fasting insulin test alongside your next glucose panel. Fasting glucose alone can look normal for years while insulin resistance quietly builds. Fasting insulin tells a different story. 4. If you are on any medication for blood sugar management, do not stop or adjust it based on this video. Talk to your doctor first. What works alongside medication is different from what works alone. Take what is useful from this video, but run it past someone who knows your full health picture before you change anything. We are working toward 500,000 subscribers, people who want to understand their health clearly, without the noise. If this was useful to you, subscribing takes 3 seconds, and it helps this reach one more person who needs it. Take care of that muscle. It has been waiting to help you.